This Qatar Grand Prix betting picks edition of the F1 Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network is brought to you by Gametime. Snag the tickets without the stress. Use promo code SGPN on your first purchase to get $20 off. Download the Gametime app and use promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog has just added Pick'em Scorchers where you can win 100 times. That's right. Turn $5 into $500 in one game. Plus, every Sunday, they're giving away $100,000. Use promo code SGPN at Underdog Fantasy for a 100% deposit bonus up to $100 or up to $500 now. Better get in on that. Get ready for speed.
You just wait, sunshine. You just wait.
Get ready for the passion.
To whom it may concern you.
Get ready for the raw emotion.
Sì, ragazzi! Grazie, grazie, grazie! Dai, forza Ferrari!
Get ready for the F1 Gambling Podcast on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. Now, here are your hosts, Rod Villagomez and Cody Zeeb. Welcome in to the F1 Gambling Podcast here on the Sports Gambling Podcast Network. He's Cody Zeeb. I'm Rod Villagomez. I'm thinking that F1 knows that every once in a while, even podcasters need a break because they gave us one last week. We went ahead and we took it along with the drivers. Sorry, not sorry. We just, one of those things where we figured, do we do a recap or do we just go ahead and charge ahead next week with, okay, let me get this out of the way first. All right. I understand that this country is very difficult to pronounce correctly for most people. So I will say this once the way that it's supposed to be said, and then I will say it the way that most everybody else says it afterwards, because it's a lot harder to say Qatar every single time. Okay.
So, I'm proud of you for getting that in, because I'm not even gonna try. I'm just skirting around the word this entire episode.
So I will say it like they're going to say it on the broadcast and say Qatar. Okay. So everybody will, when I say Qatar, it's not like I'm trying to say it wrong. I just literally, it's difficult for me as a person who does not speak that language to constantly say Qatar and then always try to make sure that I say it correctly. So that'll be the one time you hear it right. And then after that, it'll be Qatar.
That was more. That was more than once. We got a couple out of you there. So I like it. I'm glad you got one in for me too.
Thank you. I'm not trying to be insensitive to anybody. I really understand, because you know me, I always try to get the small cities their dues. I always try to get pronunciations right as much as seemingly possible. But again, if you're going to say it a lot, it's difficult to say it all every single time. But anyways, hi Cody, how are you doing?
Rod, I'm doing good. I'm glad F1's back. It was, yeah, we needed a break last week. We've been going nonstop with all of our shows. Nice little breather. Nice to have a break. Glad F1 is back. We're here for this Grand Prix this weekend. I'm excited. It's gonna be a fun one. We might have a champion even before the race, Rod. The possibility exists. Max Verstappen could lock it up. Just jump right into it. So sprint weekend, right? So there's points to be earned. Verstappen won the title in Japan last year with 4 rounds to go. But this year, with the addition of Las Vegas, we've got the extra round. He's got a 177-point lead. So in the sprint, if Perez does not outscore him by more than 6 points, he will retain the title and be crowned the champion. So that means if he finishes 6th place in the sprint, a pretty decent chance that happens, or he outscores Perez by 6 points, he will be the champion in the sprint. We'll talk about that in a few, but if that doesn't happen, Perez would have to score 32 more points on the weekend than Verstappen. Again, it's possible, right? Maybe Verstappen has some kind of issue in the sprint and the race, but likely going to be crowned 3-time champion consecutively for Max Verstappen this weekend.
it's just, I mean, there's just no other person that can do this. I mean, there's no other way around it this weekend. It's going to be crowned. I actually have something to say about that later on in the episode about it, but it's crazy to think that, other sports, you don't crown the champion until the end, right? I mean, racing, it's whenever it happens. This is the race that you end up winning the whole thing.
That's racing in general. Obviously with NASCAR, we've got the playoff format now and it's different, but it used to be the case where they would crown champion 5-6 races ahead of time if that was what it called for. IndyCar, we saw it this year. Pelot wrapped it up before the final race of the season. So it's just how motorsports are and something that a lot of the ways it goes. So shout out to soon to be 3-time champion Max Verstappen. One other big news story this week, Rod. FIA has approved Andretti's bid to become a new Formula One team. So I was kind of looking more into this because I was very interested. How does this work, right? Obviously, we've had 10 teams for a while and 20 cars on the grid. But as I was kind of looking through this, and I was looking at Luke Smith over The Athletic. He's their senior Formula One writer. He has a lot of good information. So the F1 approved their team to be in the 11th team in 2026. So they'll be in the 11th team on the grid. We'll be up to 22 cars, which would be great. And I was kind of looking through this. So the FIA began the process of expanding the F1 grid from the existing 10 teams at the start of the year, which prompted Andretti to announce the new partnership with General Motors, Cadillac. So Cadillac is who they'll be bringing to the thing. There's the new engine package in 2026. There's a lot of questions back and forth. Andretti's been wanting to join F1 for a while. This is the first hurdle, right? It's not this is a very long, I was trying to read through all this. It's a long process of everything they need to do. Very unlikely they would be on the grid in 24. 25, there's maybe a chance you see them if they get it moved up to then, but 2026 is probably when we'll see it. So it kind of sucks we have to wait a couple more seasons. But just the fact that Andretti is there, to be a second American team, right? We've got Haas, obviously. Andretti has been anticipating this for a while. They are building a massive complex in Indianapolis, obviously. They've got their ties with IndyCar, and they're running over there. They're in all kinds of other series and racing and all of that. And they just go hand in hand with racing. So it sounds to me like they're planning on running F1 and IndyCar out of that shop in Indiana. So it'd be pretty sweet to have the full operations here in the United States, have that extra team, have the entities involved. Unfortunately, it sounds like it's going to be a couple of years before it actually happens, but this is a big step towards getting it done, towards adding more cars to the grid, which I'm always for more cars and more races, more cars on the fields, more cars on the grid. I think that's a good thing.
Cadillac, though, that's gonna be fun. I mean, that's one of those manufacturers you don't necessarily expect to see on an F1. It's like when
Honda's out there winning championships with Red Bull. I mean,
that's true,
yeah.
Like when Dodge joined NASCAR, and everybody was like, "What the hell is Dodge doing out there?" And I mean, they weren't the strongest of teams, but they had some pretty good drivers in those Dodges back in the day. So, pretty interesting to see that. And of course, F1, we've seen manufacturers and teams kind of go and come and all that other stuff. So, obviously the big ones have stuck around, but this will be pretty interesting. I'm glad for them. I want to see. I'm with you, Cody. I'm of the. A couple more here and there is not bad. I know, 20 of the best, most elite drivers in the world. That's sort of their claim to fame, but I'm okay
if we can have 22 of the best elite most drivers in the world, it sounds like it's two better.
What I'm saying, week after week, it's and honestly, look, the more pressure you put on a guy like Max Verstappen to continue to perform at such a high level, the better off you're going to be in general. So I do, like I said, like this Andretti news, excited to see it. And again, with more races coming in the United States, I guess it only makes sense for another United States manufacturer to sort of make them work their way in there.
I mean, we've got 3 Grand Prix in the United States right now, right? So you go to, you go to Texas, you got Miami Vegas, and Vegas. Yeah. So bring it on. We got an American driver now, obviously, and Logan Sargent. So love getting more. The viewership continues to grow here. As gambling expands, that's going to continue to help it. DFS helps, all of it. So I love to see it.
Kind of jealous though. My buddy posted a picture the other day on Instagram. He lives in Las Vegas and he was working. Well, I don't think he was working. He's working for a news station. He's a news stringer, as well as many other things. But he had his hard hat on, his news microphone, and he's standing on the paddock in the Las Vegas paddock. And I was like,
beautiful.
Sound big.
But
yeah,
seen some pictures. They've got all the construction going and everything. It's that race is going to be just absolutely beautiful.
I may just drive down there for the hell of it. It's 8 hours. I may just strap on and go for it.
Oh man, I don't know. Vegas a little farther than 8 hours for me, but it's tempting for sure.
It most definitely is. All right, well, we'll talk about the current Grand Prix when we come back. But let's tell you first about Game Time. I can't stand buying tickets. In fact, I'm not going to buy tickets to the NFL or to the NFL. Well, those either. But I'm not going to buy tickets to the Las Vegas Grand Prix until the very last minute because I don't know if I'm going to go. So before Game Time, that would have been a stressful situation. I would have gnashed my teeth and cried and shed some tears because I would have figured, first of all, they'd be sold out. And second of all, the price would be so astronomical that I would not be able to afford to go watch that race, even if I was watching it from a helicopter that my buddy rented for me to do it. But Game Time stopped that. Now I'm going to be able to buy those tickets at the last minute, and I'm not going to get gouged, and I may even get rewarded for them because they got last-minute deals on all of your last-minute tickets. Plus, they got flash sales on those tickets as well. They've taken all the stress out of buying tickets, and I am grateful for it. You're going to get all the lower fees, all of the best prices. Plus, you get that Game Time guarantee. So when you buy on Game Time, your tickets will be there on time and authentic, guaranteed. You even get those tickets on your phone. You don't have to worry about fishing through emails or even missing an email as to where those tickets are. Going to be right there for you. Not to mention, they're going to send you a picture of the seat in which you are sitting in, so you'll be able to see exactly what you're going to see when you go and sit down to enjoy your event. So snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code SGPN for $20 off of that first purchase of yours. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code SGPN for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. All right, so we head off to the Losail International Circuit. Losail, not Losail. That's what the Google Translate will tell you it is. Losail. No, it's Losail International Circuit in Qatar. And this is what better way to crown a champion than on a track that looks like a crown? And it's basically,
okay. Yep. Yeah. This is a much different shape than most of the tracks we've gone to. So
highly different.
I was very interested to see what you would come up with, but it's Max Verstappen's crown. It's a little lopsided on the one side, but it's Max Verstappen's crown for sure.
It looks like that it's been driven over by 19 other cars in pissed off. So this is a crown that has been hit by 19 different F1 cars. So it's a little bent and out of shape, but it definitely is sort of a crown ish if you kind of look at it. There's only one DRS zone heading into turn one. So this DRS zone now is between 15 and 16. So yeah, you definitely only have one area of opportunity. That's not a very long stretch, a straightaway before it heads into a pretty sharp right-hander. One big long straightaway though in the back between turns 1 and 16. Look at this. This has got a lot of speed on it. There's 57 laps in this one. It's just over 3 miles at 5.419 kilometers for a distance of 308.611, which, as we know, roughly that 190-mile range for this one. They've only had one other race on this. They opened the track in 2021 to the F1, right? I mean, this track has been around since 2004 for MotoGP, for other types of motor racing, but F1 first took its race on it in 2021. Of course, 2022, they didn't have a race, but now they are back here again in 2023 for it. And
they decided the World Cup was more important. What kind of crap is that? That's why they didn't have a race last year.
I was about to say, don't
you can have the World Cup and an F1 race. Come on now.
I don't know why you can't. It doesn't make any sense to me. People will still want to go to the F1 race. It's not as if that
Exactly.
So, yeah. So again, this is going to be a lot of wide openness. These guys are going to be able to stand on the gas there's not a lot of technical corners in this one. It should be wide open racing, which really what it does is lends itself to Red Bull being a damn good team right now.
That 2018 or 2021 race, only 8 cars finished one lap. Like everybody else was at least a lap down. So
that's insane.
But there was only two not classed. Like 18 cars were classified, but only
who won
8
that
cars
race in 2021. It wasn't Max Verstappen.
That was when Lewis was still good.
I know.
Just kidding. I love you, Lewis. You're still good, but
it is.
Max stinks it up a little now.
He is. All right. Well, then why don't we start laying down some of our favorite bets for this Grand Prix?
Yep. Let's get right into it. I'm going to take a couple of different teams to finish both cars inside of the top 6. Going to start with Ferrari. They're plus 110. They finished 7th and 8th here in 2021, so just outside of that. But, Rod, 3 races in a row they have finished inside of the top 6 for both cars. Japan, it was 4th and 6th. Singapore, 1st and 4th. Italy, 3rd and 4th. Ferrari is on a run. They've kind of figured some things out. They're not shooting themselves in the foot as much as they used to. That's a big step. They're definitely taking some steps forward here. You're getting a top-tier team at plus money to finish both cars inside of the top 6. Obviously, you're probably going to have the 2 Red Bulls, and they're taking up a couple of spots, but those other 4 spots pretty wide open. Now, there's a few teams, obviously, they're going to be shooting for it, but I think Ferrari can have a good day. I think at plus 110, they are worth the bet. Also think Aston Martin is worth throwing in there as a long shot. It's 25-1, much taller task, obviously, for sure. I think you're going to make a case for Alonso here in a little bit. We know how good Alonso can be, right? He finished 3rd place here in 2021 with Alpine, so that's a pretty good thing. And their other driver, Lance Stroll, finished 6th place here in 2021. So both of these drivers finished inside of the top 6 the last time we were here. Alonso obviously was with Alpine at the time, but and Vettel, who was in the other Aston Martin car at the time, finished 10th, so not too far out of the top 6 there. But Alonso has 7 podium finishes, 10 top 6 finishes this season. And Stroll has been inside the top 6 3 times, and he's got 8 points finishes. He's not that far out of there. I know he can be the butt of jokes at times. I know some of his races aren't that great, but when he puts it together on tracks he's been good at, and I've had a lot of Stroll bets here lately, but we're going to hit one of these long shots on Stroll for sure eventually. But a team like Ferrari does shoot themselves in the foot, does have problems. Sergio Perez has had his fair share of problems. Guys like this have issues that could open up some spots. Maybe slide Stroll up in there. I think that Alonso's definitely going to be up in the top 6 there. So Aston Martin at 25-1, I think, is a good long shot. Ferrari at plus 110, the safer and a good bet as well.
And Ferrari, for what it's worth, those guys, they needed to get back on track. You could see the frustration in the middle of the season as either one or both of them were struggling and not finishing. Last season we saw it again. It was a fight between Leclerc and Verstappen for really 1st and 2nd. And, every once in a while it was Perez who would stick his nose in there and sign. So the 4 of them were mixing it up at the top a lot last season. And then, this season comes around and Ferrari starts to struggle, and obviously we know Red Bull continued to dominate, but it was a matter of what happened to Ferrari and what were they trying and why wasn't it working. So it's good to see them back. It's good to see them, climbing back up there again. And I know for them, they want to continue that going into next season, something to build on to try to catch Red Bull, if not just keep up with them at the very least. So yeah, definitely that. And then Aston Martin, there is a reason why they are now included in the winner without category, because they've had so many of these top 6 finishes, these top 3 finishes, even, that you have to start including them in the top manufacturers, because if you don't, then they're going to gouge you. So I like both of these for that reason as well. All right, my first bet, I feel like I'm cheating giving this one out, but I feel like I'm not at the same time.
Number's still good, so you got to take it.
The number is actually the best that you're going to find on anything for Max Verstappen to win. But it's not winning the race in general. It is winning this sprint race. Not just winning it, though, but turning the fastest lap as well. So Max Verstappen to turn the fastest lap and win in the sprint race. Remember, there's a sprint weekend and the sprint shootout, the sprint, and then the main race. So We're talking not the shootout. We're talking the sprint race itself. You can get that at -140 on DK. Cody, when do you pay the juice?
Only if you lose, Rob.
Right, and I don't think we're going to lose this one at all because here's the thing. This guy has the opportunity to wrap this thing up now. He doesn't have to wait for the race. He could just do it now on a Saturday and call it good and go out on Sunday, still win the race, which is probably something he's going to do. But the pressure's off of him to do it because now he could just go out and run a race, right? He doesn't have to turn a fast lap. He doesn't have to turn a fast lap in the sprint anyways to win this. But you know, Max, he's a good flair guy. He likes to add on to everybody else's misery when he's doing well. So again, Max Verstappen has the chance to wrap up his championship on Saturday. You don't think that team is going to get him out there to do that? He's probably going to be on the pole. He's probably going to win. It's a shorter race even. He doesn't have to outlast anybody for very long. He's just got to go balls out for the length of the sprint race and call it good, right? And he's probably going to turn that fast lap within the first, there's nobody that's going to throw on tires at the end of the sprint race to try to grab a fast lap at a sprint race.
Yeah, there's so much less time for somebody else to have a wing to fall off, and they got to change it, and you get that fastest lap from Piastri or something. Like this is going to be a Max thing. I love this bet at -140. I think you got to take it because it all just lines up perfectly. He goes out, he wins the championship, gets to celebrate and all that fun stuff. Just like last week, we got him. What it was -120 to fastest lap win the race or last race, I guess, and that was like taking money from a baby. I mean, it was so easy. So I think this is the same thing, and you got to do it.
Indeed. All right, where are we going next, Cody?
Should we go to an ad break, Rod, or
it is.
What do you want to do?
Look at you, buddy. I love that you're thinking about that.
Yeah, I'm here for you.
Thank you. I wasn't.
We got to pay the bills, support our fine sponsors, and then get more winners so you can earn some money.
Indeed, we do. Look at you looking at the time. All right, we'll be back right after I tell you about Underdog Fantasy. Look, Underdog has F1 as well, ladies and gentlemen. So if you are just looking at this and you're seeing the football end of it, that's fine. But they've got F1 and now they have NASCAR as well. So Underdog, they've got a great way to play alongside your favorite football team, drive along with your favorite F1 drivers and NASCAR drivers all season long. But more importantly, Underdog has just introduced Scorchers. Go 5 for 5 in Pick'em Scorchers. You're going to enjoy a spicy 100 times the payout on that contest. From now until October 4th, Underdog is matching 100% of your first deposits up to $500. $100,000 Sundays continue on Underdog Fantasy. 10 lucky players are going to wake up $10,000 richer. Toss out an Underdog play. We're going to toss them out, a bunch of them actually, in our NASCAR episode at the end of the week. So make sure that you are listening to that episode as we give you some of our favorite Underdog plays for the NASCAR slate. In fact, you know what? Go back and listen to that. We'll toss in some bonus F1 there as well when we find those for you. So that'll give you more reason to go listen to the NASCAR Gambling Podcast, as we'll give you some F1 plays on that. Sign up with the promo code SGPN. Underdog's going to double your first deposit up to $500. Underdog Fantasy promo code SGPN. All right. Did I give him a good enough incentive to go listen to NASCAR?
I think so, Rob.
Good. And not just that, but I mean, listen, we're tossing out a bunch more picks there for the NASCAR race. It'll give you something to watch after you watch the F1 race on Sunday morning.
Yeah. How about, I mean, really, I guess it's Sunday morning for you, but a noon race here in the Central Time Zone. It's beautiful. The sprint race at 12:30 Central Time. Oh, I love it. You don't have to get up early. Sprint shootouts, it's a 8 a.m. one, but it's gonna be so nice. I love it. All right, Rod. Next up for me, I'm dipping back into the Liam Lawson well. He got so close for us last race. He's gonna get it done this race. Plus 225 to finish in the points. He's got 4 starts, Rod. A 13th place, an 11th place, 9th place at Singapore where he got in the points, 11th points in the last race. He's been there. He's been close. He's going to continue to get it done, I think. 2021 race here, Gasly and Yuki finished 11th and 13th. I think AlphaTauri's running a little better now than they were at that time. Lawson kind of racing for a job, right? They announced that it's going to be Ricciardo coming back to that car next year. Not Lawson, even though he has done extremely well in this time filling in for Ricciardo. Sounds like Ricardo probably going to be back for the United States GP. You know how much he loves his cowboy hats and hanging out in Texas. That's the next race on the calendar. So I think it's a couple of weeks away from now. So sounds like Ricardo should be back for that. So kind of Lawson's last chance to show off here, to prove that he's, the grid is pretty much filled for next year. But as he continues to look for a ride or look to be a reserve driver and whatnot, he needs to impress in his chance here. So I think Liam Lawson will find his way into a points finish at plus 225.
Does Liam Lawson find himself in a Cadillac in 2024? That's the question. Or 2025 rather. That's the question.
You never know.
That'd be something. Liam Lawson driving a caddy. I love it. All right, my next bet is number of race leaders. It's only going to be one this time. I know that two actually pays the same as one. Both of them are on Bet365 at 2-1. But listen, there's only going to be one leader in this race. There was only one leader in 2021. That was Lewis Hamilton. He led from pole to pole. This track, the person that gets out in front, that's what I'm saying. The person who gets out in front, hardly anybody's going to be able to pass him. And look, this doesn't even need to be for Max Verstappen to be that guy that leads all 57 of these laps. It could be Lewis Hamilton. It could be Carlos Sainz. It could be Sergio Perez. As long as the person who gets out front before the start-finish line at the end of lap one, that's the person that's going to be checked out of this one. And I don't see very much overtaking for the lead. I don't see any overtaking for the lead, obviously, on this one. Look, Lewis beat Verstappen last 2021. I keep wanting to say last year, but it wasn't last year. It was in 2021 by 25 seconds. Third place, Alonso, was almost a full minute behind, 59 seconds behind Lewis Hamilton. So that tells you right then and there that you can build out a gap on this one. And look, if Verstappen ends up getting on the pole and is that driver that's out front, that dude's going to lead by 3 years by the end of this race. There's not going to be a chance for anybody, I think, to catch him, even with the short DRS sprint that they've got going on there. Like I said, after turn 16, this does not lend itself well to anybody else being able to take the lead over anyone that gets out front. So one leader only. If you think there's going to be two, because I don't know there won't be more than two. If you feel more comfortable with two's at the same price at 2-1. But I got to tell you guys, I still think there's only going to be one leader.
Yeah, again, it's such a wide open place. This just sets up for another Max just kills everyone type of week. And I think that's what it's going to be. And if that's going to be the case, and it happens a lot, and we know it, that's why I find ways to bet on. This is a bet on Max leading from the drop of the green flag, having such a lead that even when they cycle, I think that you got to do it this way. So,
because listen, Max is minus 400 to win. This is a way for you to get 600 points better than you would get if you bet on him winning.
Yeah, exactly. And the main thing is the pit stop cycles, but he's going to have such a lead that it's going to be fine, I think. So I think this is a good bet. I think this is a good way to go. And again, got to get creative with the numbers. You got to find the good numbers. So I think this is a good way to attack it. Next up for me, Rod, I'm going to dip back into the classified because I love it so much. Total classified finishers over 18 plus 175. Also going to throw out over 19.5 at plus 550. I mentioned it before. Only two drivers not classified last time we were here. This track is wide open. That was 2 years ago. And this year, we have noted it time and time again. There's just cars have been making now, other than a couple of weeks ago when a car didn't even make the grid, right? But and we've had the thing with Stroll a couple of weeks ago where he was in the wreck and didn't end up racing the race. But for the most part, cars are just lasting. They're making it. We're not having all the battery problems. We're not having the electrical problems we're having before. This is not a bunch of tight corners or close quarter racing. It's going to be wide. It's going to be spread out. Not going to be a lot of incidents. I think that a lot of cars are going to finish this race. I think we have that opportunity to get to all 20 cars being classified in this race. Plus 550, I like that number. And I think going over 18 over on Bet365, plus 175. I don't think this one's inclusive with 18, but you push at 18. So even if it does get down to 18, you're not really losing anything. and it gives you that opportunity to hit at 19, double dip, obviously, if you go to 20. So I think that's the way to play it for classified drivers this week.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the 2021 race, you had 18 total, but Nicholas Latifi went out with a puncture, and then looked like Valtteri Bottas hit, under tray problems as well. So,
Yeah.
I mean,
And yeah, so no incidents, right? It was they weren't wrecking, because this just isn't a track or a circuit that opens up to a lot of wrecks. It's going to be if somebody has some type of problem, and those can happen. But so far this season, I mean, I think we've had one race where it's been under 17 even. So a lot of the races we're getting there, not as many issues this season overall. So I think this is a good way to play it.
I do too. All right, I am going to put Alonso on the podium this week, 9-1 for a podium finish. His troubles have been well documented. I mean, he started the season red hot, right? Cody said it earlier. He's got 7 podiums this season in 16 starts. He hasn't had a podium. He's only had 1 podium since his last one at Montreal. Before that, so let's see. He had a podium at Montreal, and then went 4 straight weeks after that without one, and then ended up putting himself back on there in the Dutch Grand Prix. Now in 3 races, he hasn't been on the podium. But despite all of that, his average finish this season is still 5.4, which is only 2 places outside of the podium, right? Not necessarily meaning that he's been podium or last place. He's been podium or pretty damn close. He's still been in the top 10 pretty much every race, other than a couple of weeks ago in, in Marina Bay. He had 15th place finish there, but that's his only finish outside of the top 10 all season, which means he's been a player inside of that top 10. He just hasn't been able to find whatever it is to get him back up on the podium. I think that changes this week. I think they find something in it. He's done it already, right? He finished 3rd here the last time they were on this track in 2021, started 3rd, finished 3rd. And that was, like Cody said, in the Alpine. He's in the Aston Martin now, which is a lot better of a car than the Alpine is this season, especially. And maybe even particularly in that season, a couple of seasons ago, he finished in front of Perez. He finished in front of Sainz and Leclerc, and even his teammate Stroll and Lando Norris, who now is kind of ripping it up. But, you know, he was managed to find himself on the podium in an Alpine. So I think he can do it in a much better car as an Aston Martin. And 9-1 earlier in the season, there were not 9-1 for Alonso to be on the podium. That was definitely not a number you were going to get earlier in the season. So I think this is a much better opportunity for him to find the podium again. I think his team they got to get something going, and they know it, because obviously there's championships that have slipped out of their hands at this point, but that's still a proud team. I still think they want to get after something. Maybe they're testing stuff for next season. Who knows? I don't know. But whatever it is, I think Fernando Alonso is going to be back on the podium at 9-1. I like the number especially.
Yeah, it's not a crazy bet to make either. 9-1 for a guy who's done it 7 times this season. I mean, he's been on the podium plenty of times. I know a lot of those were earlier on in the season, and it's trailed off some, but they've still shown speed. They've still been fast. So I think this is a great bet to make.
All right, where are we going to next?
Next up for me, Rod.
Winners.
Yeah, Max Verstappen -700. Lay it, book it. It's gonna happen. All right, have a good night. No, just kidding. Don't. Again, you only pay the juice if you lose, but maybe not that much juice. Again, that's not an advisable long-term strategy. So, although this year I suppose it maybe was, but anyways, moving on. Don't do that. Instead, go to the fast lap market, because that is where it can happen. And Rod, this is the perfect track for that, because we've talked about it this whole episode. It's going to be spread out racing. They're going to be all over the place. This is the perfect opportunity where somebody's got a big enough gap. They can pit, they can come out, they can lay that fastest lap down, they can grab that extra point, all of this fun stuff. So I think this is where you take advantage yet again of trying to hit it. Yes, Max Verstappen's going to be fast. Yes, he's going to be lapping the field. Maybe he asks the team if they want some pit practice. He does it himself. It's possible, right? But, Rod, 10 of the 16 Grand Prix we've had this season, it's not been Max Verstappen with the fastest lap. So even though he's done it 6 times, and it seems like he does it every week because he's always the fastest car, there's plenty of other situations that arise where guys are getting it. And 4 of the last 5 races, last race he did it. which we knew he was going to do it, right? That was the Max FU race. He's going to come back. He's going to destroy the field. We called that. He did it. But the previous 4 races to that, he had not had the fastest lap. So other drivers are getting it. I like George. I like
Russell.
George to get it done. George Russell, that's his name. That's what I was thinking. Thanks for the save there, Rod. I don't know why it blanked. I only had George written down. Mine went completely blank. It happens. But 14-1 for George Russell. Mercedes has got 4 fastest laps this year. Of those 16, plus the McLaren, that's a Mercedes they drive as well, right? So they've been getting it done. Again, they're in that points battle looking for the constructors. Let's see. They are pulling it up here quickly. They're currently second place in the Constructors' Championship. Ferrari, 20 points behind them. It's not that far. If they've got that opportunity to go out there and set another fastest lap, grab that extra point, they want to make – you're not catching Red Bull, right? They've literally got more than twice as many points as Mercedes does. But you want to stay ahead of Ferrari. You want to make sure Aston Martin doesn't catch up. So I think that George is a good one to do it. And also, I am going to go with Mr. Alonso. You already talked about him. Finished on the podium. 66-1 for Fernando Alonso to be the fastest lap. Rod, we hit him, was it 45-1 a couple of weeks ago? He got it done for us. Why couldn't he get it done again? Again, he finished really well here in the Alpine car. Was it, yeah, third place finish in Alpine car in 2021. Now you're coming back to a track. Again, he's a veteran racer. They've only been here one time. I think that maybe lends to his advantage, right? Because he can pick up on things quickly. He knows how to learn these types of places. And so I think that it's a great way to go. At 66-1, it's just insane. Again, it's going to be all situational. They want to catch. They're sitting 4th place in the championship, right? In the constructors. They want to make sure they stay ahead of McLaren, who's in 5th. They want to try and catch Ferrari if they can. And if Ferrari's stumbling, every single point the rest of the season matters a lot to these teams. If they get that opportunity, Alonso's out there. He's probably not going to catch the guy in front of him. He's got a big gap to the next guy. You come in, you grab those tires, you go set the fastest time. That's the type of situations you're looking for. Yes, we know Max is going to wax the field. He's going to win by 3 laps, is all this stuff, but that doesn't always mean he's going to get the fastest laps. As many races as he's won this season, only 6 times has he been the fastest car. So you've got to take advantage. This is where you hit your long shots. It's not in the outright market. It did work for us a couple of weeks ago. We called the one race he was going to be off. It worked. This is not going to be one of those weeks. He's going to be the best car, but the fastest lap, that little purple clock can go different places. I think it could go to Russell at 14-1. I think it could go to Alonso at 66-1. So those are my long shots for the weekend.
Yeah, Red Bull's already got that Constructors Trophy on their mantle. No one's ever going to pry that one out of their hands. So the fight now is for 2nd and 3rd and 4th and 5th. So, yeah, these guys still have a lot to race for, whether it is for a championship or not. So, yeah, I mean, again, this is where the strategy all plays in. And this is where betting on F1, if we've learned nothing else through the course of this year and a half that we've spent diving into these markets, is that you have to create your own value. And this is exactly the kind of spot where you create your own value, is in these markets, or in one like I'll give you, and that's the top 2 finish market. It is the top 2, not top 2. It's somebody to finish in 2nd place or 1st place. It doesn't matter. It's a top 2 finish for Lewis Hamilton. 9-1 on Bet365. He can finish 1st. He can finish 2nd. This is like that either way type of a thing, right? So a top 2 finish, it doesn't even have to be a 2nd place finish, which it probably will be, let's face it, for Lewis Hamilton, or he could go out and do what he did in 2021 and win this race and beat Verstappen by 25 seconds. Either way, you're going to get plus 900. And here's the thing about it. Why I like this better than betting on Lewis outright to win is that Lewis has to win the race if you want to cash the outright ticket. Lewis doesn't have to win this race to cash the outright, or to cash this ticket. He can finish 2nd to Verstappen. He can finish a minute and a half behind Verstappen. As long as he's in 2nd place, he's going to cash this 9-1 ticket for you. Like I said, he won this race in 2021. We know he's a 1,000,000-time champion. He's got more trophies than Max Verstappen will ever. Well, okay, I can't say that, but he's got more trophies than Max Verstappen right now, as far as where they're at in their career. We'll see. We'll check back in a couple of years and see where that one stands. But as of now, He definitely is there. He finished second in Melbourne. He finished second in Italy. He finished second, or he's got tons of third place finishes in there as well. 5 and 16. Look, Lewis Hamilton and these Mercedes guys, they've been nipping at the heels of everybody, right? Third place in Marina Bay a couple weeks ago, fifth place last week at Japan. They got to put something together now. The season's running out. Time is running out for him to have another solid finish. This is a track where he's comfortable. So, like I said, if he wins, if he finishes second, doesn't matter. 9-1 for Lewis Hamilton to have a top 2 finish. I mean, listen, that's something I don't know what it is about 9-1 this week, but that's where I sort of, my eyes shifted to the 9-1s. But I like this. I still think Lewis has something in the tank. I think he's going to have to show it this week, and he'll probably end up finishing second to Max, but it doesn't matter because you'll cash this ticket either way.
Yeah, leaves it open, and then if Max does have a problem, right, again, batteries, whatever the deal is, can always happen, so it opens up if he is able to win. But again, a good way to get in on a longer shot without having to beat Max. It allows for Max to win, still get the second place. We know Lewis can do it. He's got some second places this season, so I like it. I like it at the number.
It's crazy though. Like I said, creating your own value. That's what you have to do. And I mean, I don't really get a chance to talk about it too much outside of to the wall, because that's the only thing that listens to me anymore. But the thing is that as we get deeper into the world of sports betting, I know there's a lot of emphasis on totals. We're talking NFL or baseball or whatever, totals over unders, like all of these things, to point differentials and all that stuff. That's all fine and well. But dig deeper in the books, people. Especially in F1, like we are very much spoiled in F1, where they give you a ton of. So we only give you 4 bets a piece. We could put together a full card like we do in NASCAR, but we just chose to sort of pare it down to the top 4. But you guys can go so much deeper. Practice bets, practice head-to-heads. We did safety cars a while back. There's virtual safety car. They'll even give you a virtual. Remember, we were saying they need to differentiate between virtual and safety car. Now they did. So they are giving you so much to work with. If you have barely scratched the surface, sit down with your favorite book, open up those F1s, and just look at everything you have, because there's a lot.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's wonderful. And again, that's one of the things I kind of really like about having this F1 part of it. Like in NASCAR, we talked about it. The last 7 playoff races, 7 different playoff drivers have won. It's been crazy. Like, so you just throw darts at outrights and you can hit stuff. Like here, you've got to, Max Verstappen opens the week at -400. Like you've got to get creative. You've got to look deeper. You've got to dig into the numbers. And we proved it a couple of weeks ago. We hit, a 40-1, a 50-1. Like we hit a couple of different long shot bets. You can hit those on a weekly basis. We hit some, plus 110s, minus 120s, whatever it is in there as well. So I love the challenge it creates of how do you this part of the outcome, how do you work around that and find other ways to work it in where in case that doesn't happen, or even though that happens, you can get this. So it makes it a lot of fun and it's exciting. And the options in F1, like it is, like you said, it's amazing how deep you can go. I absolutely love it.
It's like a choose your own adventure book where you know the ending, but you still got to choose your adventure. So I love it. All right, get out your pen and paper. We're about to go over the bets that we have for this Qatar Grand Prix or Qatar. Listen, you guys say it better than I do, so go ahead and say it for me. Cody started you out with both cars, both Ferraris as top 6 cars at +110 over on Bet365. Also tossed in an Aston Martin at 25-1 on Bet365. I gave you Max Verstappen to set down the fastest lap and win the sprint race at -140, thereby clinching his championship. Going into Sunday, a much more relaxed driver on DK. Cody gave you Liam Lawson as a point finisher at +225. I said the number of race leaders would be just one at 2-1 on Bet365. Cody gave you the total classified over 18 at +175. And then over 19.5 at +550. I said that Fernando Alonso would find his way back up to the podium at 9-1 on Caesars. Cody gave you George Russell to turn the fastest lap of the race, not the sprint race, but the actual race, at 14-1. and Alonso at 66 to 1. I said that Lewis Hamilton would be a top 2 finisher at plus 900 over on Bet 365. We'll have to not wake up quite so early for this one, but we'll still enjoy it nonetheless. Another week of F1. I love it when they have it, hate it when they don't. So excited to watch another Grand Prix on Sunday morning.
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Again, it's gonna probably get a little strung out, but got 2 weeks off after this one. But then I think we get 3 in a row as they kind of go through the Americas here with the race down to Texas. Then you got Mexico, Brazil. So it's gonna be great on a nice little run coming up here. I'm excited. Let's go make some money this weekend.
Let's go make some money this weekend. So as we send you off on your way to make money, Cody, why don't you let everybody know they can find you on social media?
Yep, follow me over on X at Husker_Zeeb. Find all my work over there. Check out the NASCAR Gambling Podcast as well. And yeah, let's do it.
Let's do it. Find me on X at RJ Villagomez. Link in the bio. Everything I got going on, whether it's here, whether it's in between media. Make sure you check out the Backroad, Seth and Elliott talking the Roval this weekend. And of course, follow me on Fast Money for frequency's sake over there on their YouTube channel. Just wherever I'm at, you can find me. If you want me, I'm not hard to find. So we'll see you in another couple of weeks, I suppose, for another race. Until then, let's go racing and let it ride.